but I'll show it a little closer. It's not a snake. It looks like a bone maybe, or a melted tree branch. Really weird stuff, but this is actually sand that was melted by or fused by lightning, and it's called fulgurite, and it made this weird object. So lightning went into the ground, probably near a beach, went this weird shape, and then somebody came by and pulled it out of the ground. So this is fulgurite, and that is created by lightning. So lightning is also another danger that I have to warn people about. We don't have special warnings for lightning, but we do, if there's a lot of lightning, we might get on television and warn people, hey, there's numerous lightning strikes here. And one time I saw it, we had about 30,000 lightning strikes in a matter of about 15 minutes across the state. It was a huge storm system. I'd never seen anything like that, and it was just one lightning strike after another. Boom, 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 boom. And so we tracked that with a super Now, one last thing we don't usually cover is blizzards, and that's because we don't get too many blizzards down here. We do get some snow, though. A couple of years ago, we had some big snowstorms. We had half the snow. And for that, it's an area of low pressure as well, but you have to have cold weather from top to bottom. Hurricanes are all warm systems. Tornadoes, they can be warm and cold, but blizzards have to be cold from top to bottom. So that's how you get those. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to hit the lights, and then I think it's about time we get some questions in here and have you guys ask questions. Now, again, just before we get to those questions, thanks, Jeff. My job as a meteorologist is to tell people the weather and to warn people if there's going to be bad weather. Okay? So, let's get some questions. We'll do it however you want, but again, you'll have to relay the questions to me through either a teacher or come up to the front.
All right, we're ready. My friend in the blue, come on up. Yes, sir.
My name is Cameron.
All right, Cameron, come on up and ask your question.
Wow.
All right, go ahead.
Hello. Hi.
What do you need to be a meteorologist?
What do you need to be a meteorologist? Like what training?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. So in order to be a meteorologist, you need to go to college for 4 years. So that's 4 years after high school to a college or university. And there's some in the state that do offer meteorology. You can study meteorology. If you want to, you can even study things close to that. You can study something called climatology, which is past weather. Or you can even study oceanography. You can study the ocean. That's kind of a side link, and you get into weather that way a little bit. So, but you need to go to school for a long time, basically.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yellow.
I'm Jay.
Hi. Jay.
How do you stay safe when you're reporting in the rain, blizzards, hurricane, or a very, very hot day?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I've been out reporting before during a couple of storms. One time they sent me down to the Outer Banks during Ophelia and Hurricane Ophelia back in 2005. And so what you do is you want to try and stay out of the winds if you can. Now, sometimes it looks like we're right on the winds, but we're protected by a building. So we'll stay on the corner of the building, we'll catch some of the wind, but not the full force. Other times when you're down at the beach, beaches are fairly safe because there's not a lot of stuff around you, but you still need to keep an eye out because things can fly around. And so you need to just be mindful of what's around you. And so if it looks real dangerous, we won't go out, but most of the times we're out there and we're just trying to stay as safe as we can. You're not supposed to walk through water that's flowing or you can't see, but a lot of times we're treading through, big puddles of water or small areas of water, and we try and just be mindful of what's around us.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, our last question for you.
Okay.
This is Max's question.
Hold that.
What happens when a warm front and a low front mix? Could it start a tornado?
Okay, yeah, I know what you're trying to say. So you're asking about a warm front and a cold front, and those usually meet up around an area of low pressure. So what happens is the warm front will come up from the south. Let me show you a graphic here real quick with that. Got a good one that I think we looked at earlier. So there's an area of low pressure out there, and there's a cold front And then this is, I got it as stationary, but really it's a waterfront. And the two fronts usually swing around at very low pressure. And so what'll happen is, those clash of the air masses will happen around that low, storms happen around the low, and so a tornado will spin up somewhere in this region if it's warm enough and you have enough spin. So that's what happens. You don't always get a tornado with every clash of the air masses. Sometimes you just have a big, nice cold front coming through. But when you have a big area of low pressure and those fronts, then you got a better chance of seeing those tornadoes. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
We do have one more question, if you don't
Well,
mind.
that's fine. We got some time for a few if you want to ask them. I got no problem with that. Yeah, we got a few minutes, so it's up to you.
Thank you.
How long have meteorologists been around?
What's that now?
How long have meteorologists been around?
Oh, how long have people studied the weather, basically? Yeah. People have been watching the weather for a long time, even since the ancient Greeks. There was a temple that they built that it was the Temple of the Winds. And this was back before, this was back 2,000 plus years ago. And they actually had they had weather symbols, and it depended on which direction the wind was coming in, because they knew the winds would change. So people were watching the weather for thousands of years, but they didn't really get into the science of it until, I want to say, the 1800s. Ben Franklin, he did a little bit of studies with weather, and then the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a lot more science involved. And then things didn't really get to be structured until the 1940s. So yeah, there's a lot of history there, but if you want, you can check it out on the internet and type up weather history or things like that, and you'll get all of the details that I'm giving you, and maybe too much detail. Yeah. All right. Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we got time for a few more questions. It's up to you if you've got time.
Okay, Sophia? Come on over.
Okay.
Come on over here, darling. Say hi, my name is Sophia.
Hi, my name is Sophia.
Hi, Sophia.
I actually have two questions.
Okay, we'll make them quick. Go ahead.
Okay, the first question is how do you guess the weather if it's the day before so you might know what it is tomorrow if you see the sky?
Okay, no, we never guess the weather. We always try and figure out what's going to happen. A couple things. Number one, we can track things coming from far away. So we can actually see things coming across the country and tell if they're heading our direction. So, for instance, there's a storm system out here, let's say in Denver and in Nevada. And so I can tell how fast it's moving, I can tell which direction it's moving, and I know that in about 3 or 4 days that this storm system is going to try and head towards us. So I can actually track things from far away and figure out the weather over the next couple of days. I know for it, in fact, tomorrow, that all this sunshine that's out here to the west is going to be right over us. That's high pressure, and that's going to be over us, so I can track it.
Thank you.
Yep.
And the second question is what year did you start being a meteorologist?
All right, about 1994, I started studying meteorology, so a long time ago. Yep. Yep. Okay, bye.
All right, sir. It sure has been a pleasure getting to meet you, and do